Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related channel on the internet, the John Campea YouTube channel, and this is Open Mic. Now, what is Open Mic? Well, I'm awfully glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we save time in the second half of the show to take live questions. But here on the weekends on Open Mic, that's all we do is take your live open questions, talking about the things we want to talk about on this weekend. And I hope you guys have some fabulous things planned for yourselves this weekend. I know I do. I know I'm going to go over, actually, I'm going over to Erin's house tonight. Going over to Erin Cummings' house tonight. Me and Ann are going to go over and join her and Tom and a few other people to watch the big fights tonight. I'm not a huge boxing fan, but I will tune in to watch some of the bigger matches, and tonight is going to be one of the bigger ones, so I'm going to go and check that out as well. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys have some fabulous stuff planned for yourselves this weekend. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different than we normally do on Open Mic. And what normally we just dive right into live questions, but there is something we should talk about here because I'm sure a number of you guys are going to write in and want to talk about this anyway. And obviously yesterday we got images from a set of the Batman outfit. The Batman outfit on set is what we actually finally got a look at yesterday. Now, of course, we had that, like, what Matt Reeves was calling camera test footage, whatever. That gave us our first kind of look at it. I thought it looked quite good. I know some other people didn't, but, you know, I don't care. The costume does not make the movie. Anybody who says otherwise, I don't know what to tell you. The costume doesn't make the movie, right? X-Men 2 was one of the greatest comic book movies ever made, and it had some of the worst costumes. I mean, it doesn't matter. A good costume will not make a bad movie good. A bad costume will not make a good movie bad. It's just that simple. So I don't get too excited, and I don't get too bummed out about a first look at a costume. But I gotta tell you, I personally fall on the side that I'm actually liking the look of the costume. Now, this is from Polygon. Of course, you guys have all seen these pictures by now. I dig the look. It looks very tactical, the outfit. It looks very practical. It looks like he has full range of movement. I like the way when you look around the neck, the cowl goes down inside an outer shell of the neck. That tells me he's going to have full movement and range, full range of movement with his head, which has been an issue with some past Batman costumes that we've seen before. And so I'm digging it. I'm thinking if Batman was a real thing and he was around today, I feel like this is the type of costume he'd have. Now, what's interesting, though, of course, is no cape. That's the interesting thing. So I wonder, and I'm just wondering, I wonder if they might pull the same thing with Batman and his cape that they did in Man of Steel with Superman's cape. Because you guys will remember, in Man of Steel, Superman's cape wasn't there. They actually CGI'd in his cape afterwards so they could get it to do all the things they wanted his cape to do, right? And I thought it looked pretty damn good. So a part of me wonders if that's what they're going to go for here with this, or if it's just as simple as, John, he's riding a motorcycle, he probably has his cape like tuck away or something because it wouldn't be practical to have this long flowing cape as you're riding your motorcycle. And that's a very fair point. You would be making a very good point if you brought that up. I'm just saying, since they've done it with Man of Steel, I can't help but wonder if that might be the same approach that they take with Batman and having that, you know, having a CGI'd in cape a little bit later. So I gotta tell you, I like it. I like it. But then again, even if I hated this cape, even if I hated this costume, it wouldn't do anything. I mean, if I hated this guy, I mean, I've seen some people say, you know, oh my God, I love the look of the costume. This movie's going to be awesome. It's like, is it? I mean, just because you think the costume looks good, that doesn't mean the movie's going to be good. And then I've seen people completely opposite. I don't like the look of his cowl. This movie's going to suck. Because you don't like the look of the cowl? That means the story's not going to be good. I mean, I just think we invest way too much in whether or not. But hey, it's always better if we like the costume, true. And I just got to say, I like the costume. I think it looks pretty good. I want to know what you guys think, and I'm sure we're going to hear some of your thoughts as we get into the questions. So listen, with that said, let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right into the live question. Oh, I wanted to show something off here today, too. Wanted to tell you guys about something. And I'm sure we're going to talk a lot more about the Batman thing here. But we just got in. I'm going to pull my microphone away, so you might have a hard time hearing me. But the new shirts just came in. the Sons of Filthy singing. You see, I'm wearing my hat. I love that hat. Look at the hat. I love the hat. It's even got me wearing the hat. So the new t-shirts just came in for these. And yeah, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be giving a bunch of these away. So here's what I want you to do. If you want one of these shirts, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send out 5 of these shirts to you've got for the rest of the day today. So this is only going to work for those of you who are watching Open Mic, because this is being done today. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick 5 emails, and the email address you send it to is john@thejohncampeashow.com. So that's the email address. No, not that one. Just john@thejohncampeashow.com. Again, John, John, at thejohncampeashow.com. So email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Now follow these instructions closely though. Put shirt in the subject line. Okay. Put shirt in the subject line and send me a picture of you with Bring On the Filthy somewhere in the picture. I don't care if you're holding up a piece of paper or if it's on a computer monitor or if you want to do something creative, but Bring On the Filthy has to be somewhere in your picture. So email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com, put the word shirt in the subject line and include a picture. And when you send it, make sure you include your mailing address. Make sure you include your mailing address, because if you get picked, I got to know where to send the shirts. So I will pick my 5 favorite pictures, or just 5 at random, whatever. I'll pick 5 pictures out by the end of the day today, and then we will send out 5 of these new Sons of Filthy shirts if you guys are interested in those. Anyway, okay, with that down, now let's get into talking about the stuff you guys want to talk about here today. And we're going to get things started off here with Greg Scott Bailey, who writes, "No question, just thank you for what you do and the inspiration you provide while just being you." Oh, thanks so much, man. That's really kind of you. A thank you to the show community. Big thanks to Robert Meyer Burnett, Aaron Cummings, and Chris Carr for bringing their knowledge and pleasantries as well. Man, it's always nice when somebody just wants to send in something nice. That's always nice. And thank you for supporting the show, man. I appreciate that, Greg. And thanks for the kind word. And I'm sure the rest of the fan community here loves having you as a part of it as well. So thank you so much for that, dude. I really appreciate it. All right. He who has spoken, Queel, writes, Lego recently revealed their new set of the Mandalorian ship, the Razor Crest. It comes with the Mandalorian, Baby Yoda, Grief Karga, and a Scout Trooper and IG-11, but nowhere to be found. But I'm nowhere to be found. What the heck, Lego? I have spoken. Really? There's no Queel? Well, you know what? That might be on purpose. Of course, Queel is, I have spoken. So that might have been on purpose, because that was a damn popular character. And that episode, the second last episode, you could feel a great disturbance in the Force when what happens to him, and everybody in the world is like, no! Anyway, so I wonder if they're going to use Queel as kind of like a special collector's edition or something like that. So yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm not surprised he was left out, because I think they're going to consider that to be a real kind of a possible collector's edition thing that to really bump up the price on something. So I'm not surprised by that. It's unfortunate, but hey, at least you get all that other stuff, right? Like, hey, I remember being a kid, when you get a ship, all you got was the ship. You didn't get all the figures. So the fact that you're getting, Mandalorian, you're getting Baby Yoda and Karga and IG-11. And I mean, you could also say, hey, where's Cara Dune? Why isn't Cara Dune in there? Like, you might think that too, but I think they're going to be probably saving him a little bit. All right. Morris Codes writes, you forgot the Transformers. I wrote that when you were going off on how much you liked the Westworld trailer. Oh, man, yeah, that's true. Listen, just because the trailer... So here's what happened. Yesterday, we were talking about the Westworld Season 3 trailer. And I was explaining that I gave up on Westworld. Like, I watched it through to the end of Season 2, and I made a decision at the end of Season 2, I'm out. I'm out. I just don't like the show. A lot of other people do, and that's perfectly great. But for whatever reason, the show doesn't work for me. So I'm like tapping out. I don't want any more of this show. And then the trailer dropped for Season 3. And the trailer for Season 3 looks just fantastic. I thought the trailer for Season 3 looked fantastic. So I'm going to give it a shot. Now, it's true that I felt that way about like almost all the Transformers trailers too. Like, I like the first Transformers movie that Michael Bay did. I like it very much, but I hate all the rest of them. But every time a trailer would come out and it made the movie look awesome, and then I'd go and be disappointed by the movie. And then the next movie would be coming out and the trailer would be awesome, and then the movie let me down. It was whole pattern of behavior. So you're right about that, Morse Codes. You're right about that. All right, Canada Rocks writes, hey, John, I think on Friday's show you mistook Wes Anderson for Paul Thomas Anderson. Knowing that you still think Nolan will win the Oscar first, I think Paul W.S. Anderson will win first. Haha, just kidding. Yeah, oh yeah. For a second, I'm like, you know, I knew there was jest in there, Canada Rocks. I knew there was jest in there right away. By the way, again, both tremendous directors, but I just think one is a little more stylized than the other, and I think Christopher Nolan has broader appeal. Jesse Keller writes, hey, John, did you see the trailer for Bad Education No, I have not, starring Hugh Jackman. I've been interested in this movie for months, though, and I have not watched the trailer yet. About a massive Roseland School controversy. If so, what do you think? Also, all the exterior and football field shots at the school were filmed at my old high school in Levington, New York. That's awesome, man. It is. Listen, I still get a big kick when I watch a movie or TV show and I recognize, oh my God, that's my hometown. Like when I started watching Titans on the DC streaming service, which I don't like, to be honest. But when I started watching it, episode 1, I never knew this, but I'm watching it. I'm like, that looks like my hometown of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And then a bus would go by. I'm like, that is definitely a Hamilton bus. And then I jumped online very quickly, and sure enough, Titans was shot in my hometown. I still get a big kick. I get a big kick out of that. So that's really cool. But no, I've been looking forward to this movie very much. I didn't know the trailer dropped, so I haven't seen it yet, Jesse. But thanks for putting that on my radar, because I'm definitely going to go and check that out. All right, 50 Shades of Geek writes, casting call for circus performers for a movie shooting in Liverpool. The Greatest Showman 2? Well, if there was any announcement that they were making a Greatest Showman 2, I would say that's a very good possibility. Yeah, I would say that's a very good possibility. However, since there has been no movement or official announcement or green light given to a Greatest Showman 2, highly doubtful. But, I mean, if there had been, that would be the perfect guess. That would have been the perfect guess, 50 Shades. All right, Michael Bradley writes, hello, John. The Call of the Wild premiered one day after the 30th anniversary of the Simpsons episode Call of the Wild. If that's true, that's kind of a funny coincidence. If that's true, that is a funny coincidence. I did not know that. I don't even know that I remember the name. I don't know that I remember which episode that was, because that would be back in classic era Simpsons. But anyway, I'll have to look into that. All right, Shane Roxas writes, John, I finally watched Jojo Rabbit. What an incredible film. I laughed, I cried, and I felt everything in between. And seriously, you were right. Nothing could have prepared me for the shoe scene. I keep telling people that, right? And you'd think with all the hype being given to the shoe scene that people would like be able to prepare themselves for it. There's no preparing for it. If you haven't seen Jojo Rabbit, just trust me, there's no preparing for it. It is one of the, I'm not going to say it's the greatest movie scene of all time. I'm not saying that, but I am telling you, it's one of those scenes that I will be thinking about for decades to come. Like 20 years from now, I'll be thinking about movies and I'll think about that shoe scene. It just had that. And look, the scenes are also subjective. Just because it had that impact on me and a lot of other people doesn't automatically mean it's going to have the impact on you. But I'm just telling you, man, it had that impact on me. So I'm glad you had the chance to go see that movie and you had a chance to enjoy it. I just love it. It was my favorite film of the year. Maintains my favorite film of the year, and I'm glad you had a chance to enjoy it. All right, Mike writes, hey, John, just finished the pilot of Hunters on Amazon. Wow, I think I may like this better than The Boys. I figured Nazi hunting films and shows have been kind of played out, but this really is a breath of fresh air. High recommendation. You know, it's interesting you write that, Mike, because I just finished reading and listening to a bunch of people that said the show actually isn't that great. I mean, basically the consensus I've been hearing is it's okay. And Al Pacino is great in it, which, I mean, do we expect anything less? But what I've been hearing was that while the show's all right, it's actually not that great. So it's really interesting for me to hear from your perspective that you like it maybe even better than The Boys. So I know I do want to check it out. My enthusiasm for it took a hit when I started hearing from all these other people that it's not that great, but maybe with your recommendation, maybe I'll have to make sure I give that a shot. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on that, Mike. Let's see. An anonymous viewer writes, "Hey, John, I recently read news that Sony is rumored to possibly portray Spider-Man as bisexual in the next film, multiverse with past Spider-Man act." Listen, don't believe any of that, Drek. Unless you're reading that from the Hollywood Reporter or Variety or something like that, pay no attention to that stuff. I'm the real Peter Porker writes, "Hey, John, just wondering, would you ever pull together another 24-hour straight super show if another good cause presented itself? The original will go down in history." So if, for those of you who don't know, and maybe haven't been following me for long enough, back when the tsunami hit the Philippines a number of years ago, we did a 24-hour marathon, and I think we raised over $20,000. I think our goal was something like, let's raise $4,000 to help relief in the Philippines by doing this 24-hour marathon. And I think it ended up being over 20, maybe even over $25,000. I can't remember. But it was awesome. The way the fan community rallied around the cause and helped people out, it was awesome. However, it also triggered the most sick I have ever been in my life. And I'll never forget this because we did the 24-hour marathon. And then as soon as we were done the 24-hour marathon, Dennis and I and a few of us got in some vehicles, drove to Las Vegas because the Academy of Web Television Awards were going on in Vegas, and we were nominated for a couple of things. And I was nominated for Best Host of a Show, of an online show, and our show, Movie Talk, was nominated for Best Live Series. And I did not win Best Host, but we did win Best Series. But anyway, it's a great weekend. But Dennis and I both got deathly ill. And I remember I actually had to miss weeks of the show. I was off work for weeks. I had never felt that sick. It was absolutely brutal. So I don't know if I'll do a 24-hour one again. I just realized, I don't know what it is, but that just killed me. It killed me. But, if something happens where there's a lot of really, where some good is needed to be done, maybe like a 12-hour marathon, maybe I'll do 12. I don't know if I could do 24 again. But maybe a 12, because I'm not going to do anybody any good if I kill myself doing it. All right. Now, next one, Alex, Platinum writes, "John, we've heard you speak about your butter application for your popcorn. Indeed. However, what about when it comes to salting your popcorn? I personally add an unhealthy amount of both salt and butter. I'll tell you what, it has always been just me personally. It has always been my personal experience that theaters do salt their popcorn enough. Now, again, that's all to individual taste. But for me, I've always found movie theaters tend to salt their popcorn enough. Now, if you really like your salt the way I like my butter, then maybe you might want to employ, a different tactic. For instance, ask for the bag half full first, apply salt, then fill it up, then shake it. The nice thing about salt over butter is, once you pour butter over the popcorn, the butter just infuses with the popcorn it touches. So shaking the bag doesn't really do anything. But salt, if you pour a bunch of salt on the top, and not too much, I'm just saying if you pour salt on the top and then shake the bag, a lot of the salt will make its way down. So that's a little bit of an advantage of salt over butter. Talking about the movie-going experience here, folks. These are important issues that we need to talk about, guys. We need to talk about these important movie-going issues. Anyway, Alex, I hope that helps. All right, Johnny Weiner writes, "Batsuit looks fine. Kind of has that Gotham by Gaslight vibe to it a little bit, and it does. Until I think it still has more of a, especially from the first camera test footage that came out, it has a Arkham kind of feel to me. Anyway, until this movie comes out, I'm not too excited for a new Batman. Still bummed out that we will never see Batfleck version. He's my favorite. Next is Bale, Adam Keaton, and the rest. I am Batman." Yeah, listen, here's the thing though. We as film fans just need to get over it. Listen, nobody loved the Affleck Batman more than me, but it's not happening. So I can either hold that against the new Batman, which does nobody any good. It doesn't bring back Batfleck, right? So as hard as it is for me to let go of the Ben Affleck Batman, and I'll talk about it a lot, but I also at the same time, I got to just let it go and say it's gone. I wanted Ben Affleck directing a Batman movie, but he's not. So I've got to, so then I either got to be excited about Matt Reeves doing it or not. I either got to be excited about Robert Pattinson, who is a terrific actor, by the way. Robert Pattinson doing Batman or not. I can't look at it all through the lens of Ben Affleck anymore. I can't do that because I'm not doing myself any favors. I'm not doing the film any favors. There's just no point to it. No point to it. So I keep telling myself every day, got to get over the Batfleck thing. I mean, look, when somebody asks, I will still say, Ben Affleck is my favorite Batman. I do wish we still had Ben Affleck doing it. But I'm not going to hold that against the new players involved. I'm not going to hold that against the new movie. I'm going to go and I'm going to give this movie a shot. And right now, I got to say, I like what I'm seeing so far. I think the casting has been bang on point. I thought they got a great filmmaker in Matt Reeves to come in and do it. I think they got a tremendous talent in Robert Pattinson to be the lead. I like the look of the suit. Not that that's important. But so far, I like what I've seen. So I'm going to be enthusiastic and not let my love of the Ben Affleck Batman kind of poison it. You know what I mean? So that's what we got to do, brother. That's what we got to do. All right. Sam Chen writes, just saw Gladiator in 4K HDR. Nice. Russell's face acting is glorious, and you could tell Joaquin was going places. Great action and script as well. I still remember because I really wasn't familiar with Joaquin Phoenix prior to Gladiator. And I remember watching him in that the first time I saw Gladiator and just being, oh my God, so amazing. So amazing. He is so good in that movie. And it was awesome seeing that both Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix were both nominated at the Oscars that year. Joaquin was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, Russell Crowe for Best Lead Actor. Russell Crowe won, I believe, and Gladiator won Best Picture. But yeah, I remember ever since then, I've always, that was the movie to me that made me go, okay, got to keep my eyes on this Joaquin Phoenix guy. That was the movie that did that for me, Sam. So I'm totally there with you. All right. Amir writes, one of two. I'm not sure whether it's the way Netflix drops films on their platform without promotion or the movies themselves or something else entirely, but Netflix movies to me have a TV film perception to them, and so I tend to skip over them. Browsing through the platform, there's loads of films that I've never heard of, similar to how a film would appear on the Hallmark Channel. You're not wrong about that. I know that's a little unfair, but it's the TV film perception that it's given to me personally. Listen, I kind of agree. And I also agree that may not be fair. That might not be fair of us, but it is how I feel. You know, right or wrong, fair or unfair. I got to tell you the truth. The truth is that's how I feel about him. Because for every one Irishman, there's 10 of those. Remember the one that Forrest Whitaker did about the alien invasion on Earth and him and his son-in-law are going off in search of his daughter? Remember how bad that was? Oh my God, that movie looked great. And I was like, oh my God, this is crap. But for every one Irishman, there's like 10 of those. For every one Marriage Stories, there's like 20 like total pieces of crap. Remember that one that Michael Pena did? Also about alien invasion. That Michael Pena was original Netflix. Terrible movie. Terrible. And so while Netflix is doing a pretty good job lately of getting a couple of big movies, their major track record is still terrible. And so you're right. It is difficult. And again, this may be, I'm admitting this may be totally unfair of me, but I have difficulty getting excited hearing about a movie that's coming, but it's a Netflix original. You know, like we talked about the Chris Hemsworth one coming up called Extraction. Looks like any other time of day, that looks like a fun little action film, right? But it's a Netflix original. So I'm like, but it's probably going to be crap. And again, I admit that might be unfair, but it's how I feel. And I need Netflix to change how I feel about that. You know what I mean? And because for every one of those great films that they do produce, there's like 20 other crap ones that just get dumped on the channel for content fill. So I don't know. And listen, I love Netflix. Netflix does such a great job of, especially with their original series and stuff like that, their curation of other content. Netflix is fantastic. I love Netflix. All right. Let's be clear about that. I love Netflix, and they do a lot of great documentary stuff too. Like I watch a lot of documentaries on Netflix. They do a great job curating those as well. But yeah, I got to admit, I get less enthusiastic about the big original films that they do because I think I like the way you described him here. It's kind of got a little bit of a made-for-TV feel. And maybe it's just going to take them cranking out some really more high-quality stuff to change that perception. And hopefully they'll be able to do that. All right, Jay Bling writes, I was trying to decipher and lip read what you and Aaron were saying during the brief audio silence yesterday. Did Aaron come up with a Tyler Rake catchphrase? You know what? I think she did. For those of you who weren't here for yesterday's John Campea show, we had we came back from the break to take live questions, and I think for the first 2 or 3 minutes we didn't have the audio on, which was my bad. I hit the audio button, but it didn't engage, so I had to click it again. And I think maybe she might have said something, Jay. Like, I can't remember now. I'll have to ask her later tonight when I go over to her place. All right, Fan of Peanuts says, did you release last Sunday's open mic companion video? We didn't do a companion video for it. What we did was we just picked up the next day on Monday's John Campea show. So what we did was on the John Campea show on Monday, we just started the live questions with the last question that we had read on the day before show on the open mic. So that's what we had done. All right, JB Bonifacio writes, as far as the Batsuit is concerned, I think the initial camera test is more indicative of the final product than the recently released set photos, as that is raw footage, undoctored by post-production. Thanks, and looking forward to your documentary. Well, thanks so much for that, JB, and we're working away. I was working on the documentary last night. Actually, yesterday, side note, yesterday was the first day that I actually started doing some post-production. We're still shooting the movie. We're still shooting the documentary. But I actually sat down and started the process of some of the post-production work yesterday. I actually started working on doing audio cleanup on interviews yesterday. And it's going to be a long process, but I'm excited about it. I don't know how much post-production is going to be put into like average standing around on the street. I mean, his suit looks pretty detailed, but again, I can't help but wonder if a CGI cape might be in play here, much like they did with Man of Steel. And it worked wonderfully in Man of Steel, I thought, a CGI cape. So maybe they'll be doing that, or maybe they'll be doing something else. All right, good observation, JB. Dimsum05 writes, not related to the Batman suit, out of context pick and whatnot, but I just wanted to wax poetically about how influential wrestling was for me when I was a kid. I went down a rabbit hole last night from Hell in the Cell with The Undertaker. That is the greatest moment, by the way. If you've never seen it, you have to look it up. It is the greatest moment, the most jaw-dropping moment, the most insane moment to me on the biggest stage of the with a mass-wide audience, craziest wrestling match I've ever seen. Undertaker, Mankind, Hell in a Cell. If you've never watched it, even if you're not a wrestling fan, go and watch it. It is insanity. Anyway, so with The Undertaker flinging Mankind off the top to the tables and ladders and chairs match with Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys, those were always classic. By the way, you see Christian is back now? Anyway, but when you heard the sound of the glass shattering, you knew someone was going to get their ass whooped by Steve Austin. It's true. And by the way, if you do not listen to, either watch his new TV show or listen to his podcast, you should. Steve Austin's just a hell of a media personality. He's terrific. He really is terrific at what he does. But yeah, you know what? Ann and I, we're actually going to fly to Florida. We're going to go to WrestleMania. And my wife, for her birthday, wants to go to WrestleMania. That's who I'm married to, ladies and gentlemen. So my wife wants to fly. My wife, I mean, I know I always wax poetic about my wife. My wife is the dungeon master of our game group. She's a bigwig over at Hasbro. She just finished her 4th degree, her 2nd postgraduate degree. She's a cosplayer. She loves MMA. She loves Star Wars. And for her birthday, she wants us to go to WrestleMania. I think I scored is an appropriate phrase for me to use. Anyway, so we're going to go down and we're going to go to WrestleMania. Look, I don't watch wrestling nearly as much as I used to. I mean, I'll watch some of the big pay-per-views because Kaori will come over and Ann and her will watch, because Kaori's boyfriend, who's over here all the time, is Nigel McGuinness. For those of you who watch WWE, of course, their NXT thing, Nigel McGuinness is the play-by-play guy for NXT. So Kaori and him are dating. And so he comes over. He was over here the other night he's also a magician, by the way. Nigel McGuinness is also a magician. And he was over here the other night doing magic tricks that were seriously blowing my mind. They were seriously blowing my mind. He's a really good magician. Anyway, so I don't watch as much as I used to, but I'm going to go and watch me some WrestleMania. Okay, next up, Suthius writes, "Hey, Mr. C, when you and the others said shoe scene, I imagined a pair of shoes gifted from one character to another. Nope. Kid with glasses was my hero. Loved him." Again, the shoe scene, guys, in Jojo Rabbit. Oh, my God. I mean, the movie is amazing without the shoe scene. With the shoe scene, it's my favorite movie of the year. I mean, it's great. And you're right. The kid with glasses was JoJo's best friend. Totally awesome in that movie. Totally awesome. Suthius writes, "Midway was fun. A lot of talent in that movie. Better movie than people thought it would be. Not great, but a better movie than you initially thought, being directed by Roland Emmerich and all this. Better movie than a lot of people thought it would be." Suthius also writes, "Toss a coin to your Pisces, breakdancer of plenty." So, for those of you who know what Suthius is talking about, I used to be a breakdancer way back in the day. I was in something called the Zodiac Crew, and each of us had a different nickname corresponding to our zodiac sign. I was Pisces. You think I'm joking? I'm not joking. I'm absolutely telling you the honest truth. That's toss a coin to your Pisces. Orange Hand writes, "How big do you think future Canadian championships, Raptors, Jays, will be compared to the previous years? Will people still be partying in the streets?" Listen, it all depends on the sport, right? If the Blue Jays win a World Series again, it'll be big, but it won't be as big as when we first won it. Because, when the Toronto Blue Jays first won the World Series, it was the first one we ever won, and it was the first non-American team to win the World Series. I mean, it was huge, and I was there in downtown Toronto as the parties in the streets erupted. I've told this story before, but, I'm downtown and walking around downtown, and a million people took to the streets. And, I remember turning a corner, I think it was on Dundas or something, and you see this police car being rocked back and forth. I'm thinking, oh no, it's the type of hooliganism you hear with oh no, lawlessness. And then I got closer and I realized, dead true story. Me and my buddy Andrew, we were walking down and we get closer and they had these guys on both sides of these cop cars rocking the car back and forth. And I realized the cop was in the car and the cop was in the car going, it was one of the craziest things I had ever seen. I literally saw, this sounds like something out of a parable, but I swear to God, this is 100% true. This is back in the day when, Doc Martin wearing skinheads was still a thing. Anyway, we're walking down in downtown Toronto, stuff like that, like a group of black dudes and a group of skinhead dudes walking towards each other and high-fiving each other as they're walking past each other because the Blue Jays had just won the World Series. It was one of the most euphoric, incredible things. And I remember writing to a friend of mine after that, and it's if you ever thought of what heaven might be like, downtown Toronto, when the Blue Jays won the World Series, was a little bit like that. It was crazy. I had never, ever seen anything like it, nor have I ever seen anything like it since. Then, of course, the Raptors winning, but of course, first time a non-American team won it. It was the first basketball one ever, blah, blah, blah. But listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. That all is a joke. That's nothing. I'm telling you, that Blue Jays celebration, that Raptors celebration, nothing. Compared to what it will be like, if ever, that the Toronto Maple Leafs win the Stanley Cup. If the Toronto Maple Leafs win the Stanley Cup, nothing that we have ever seen before will compare to what that will be like. Nothing. Because obviously Canada is a hockey country, but nothing. And the Toronto Maple Leafs have never even been to the finals in my lifetime. As long as I have drawn breath on this earth, the Toronto Maple Leafs have not even been to the finals, let alone won them. And we are a hockey country. So, yeah, I'm telling you, nothing will compare. Okay, anyway, Tim Platt writes, today we celebrate 40th anniversary of what is the greatest moment in the history of sports, in my opinion, the Miracle on Ice. I wish I was alive to see it live. What is a sports moment you wish you got to see? Oh, that's the greatest sports moment in history is the 72 Summit Series, Canada versus Russia. And if you don't know anything about the Summit Series and Paul Henderson's game-winning goal and all that kind of stuff, go look up some documentary stuff on it. It was I can't remember if it was 7 or 9 game series, but it was brutal. and heart pounding, and like literally schools shut down so kids could stay home and watch the hockey games, the Summit Series games at home with their families. That's how serious it was. It was insane. To me, it's the greatest sports moment in history. But the Miracle on Ice is awesome. The Miracle on Ice is absolutely awesome. All right. Damo Davies writes, greetings from the United Kingdom, John. Greetings, Damo. With Chris Pratt saying that everyone is coming back for the Jurassic World movie, do you believe we will see Vince Vaughn and Julianne Moore from The Lost World, Jurassic Park return? I do personally. You know what? I don't think so. I hope they do. That would be awesome if they did, but I also think we would have heard that that was happening if they are. Jurassic World 3 starts shooting this week, I believe. Yeah, I believe they start shooting this week. So I think we would have heard that, because I've heard Chris Pratt say everybody's coming back, but then I've also heard him say everyone from the original is coming back. And that's two different things, because the first thing he said makes it sound like maybe Julianne Moore and Vince Vaughn could come back. The second thing he says sounds like it's more limited to the original film. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm doubting that they're coming back from this, but I'll tell you what, Damo, if they did, I think that would be great. All right. 50 Shades of Geek writes, I'm not a gamer, but I have a friend who is, and he says video game movies aren't doing well because gamers aren't interested in seeing movies based on video games. He says video games aren't meant to be movies. I disagree. How about you? Oh, I agree with him. Video games aren't meant to be movies. That doesn't mean you can't do them. Of course you can do them. But they're not meant to be movies. They're meant to be experiential, engaged, gameplay entities. They're not meant to be movies. So he's right about that. But that doesn't mean you can't turn them into a fantastic movie. You know, when Schuster made the first like Superman comic, it wasn't meant to be a movie. But you can do a movie out of it, and they have many times. So I agree with him. I think that's definitely a part of it. I could be wrong, but I think that's definitely a part of it. So he may be onto something there. All right, Damo Davies writes, how did Leia know that what Luke got her for Christmas? She felt his presence. All right, Damo. All right, I'll give you that one. All right, Russell Amador writes, where'd we go? Hey John, not going to lie, but I'm totally on board with the photos of Batman. I am too, actually. His suit looks tactical. That's the word I used. His suit looks tactical, and if the set photos are any indication, then it's safe to say he doesn't always wait till night to do his work. That is true. I wonder how many suits he'll have. Actually, you know what? That's a good question. Because we've seen Batman movies where he's had different suits and multiple suits. Just this one suit we're taking a look at right now, that may not be the suit he wears throughout the film, right? Like, let's bring this up here again for a second. Just because he's wearing this suit here, right? That doesn't mean this is the only suit we see of him. Maybe this is the suit he starts the movie with. And I'm not saying he does change suits in the movie. I'm just saying that you might be onto something. I mean, that could be something we need to keep in mind, that maybe this isn't even the only suit that he wears throughout. If he really did need tactical suits, then it would make sense that he might have a different suit for a different situation. So maybe we'll see more. I hadn't really considered that, but you raise a really, really good point there, man. I think that's something we need to keep in mind. All right, Damo Davies writes, greetings. Sorry to bother you. It's no bother at all, Damo. But I was wondering what the definition of a British movie would be. British cast, filmed in the United Kingdom, or British financing. As far as I can tell, there seems to be no clear definition. Your thoughts? My guess is it's about where, like, who the producers are, who funds the movie. So I know if a Canadian company and a Canadian production company with Canadian money finance a film, even if it's all Americans directing it and Americans starring in it, it is considered a Canadian film. So there might be different rules from country to country and how a country might recognize a film being one of their own. But my guess would be it would be similar to that. My guess would be it would be similar to that. I don't know that for sure, Darren, but I'm sure you can look up the rules. But I'm thinking it's about who makes the film. Who is the production company and who puts up the money? Where does the money come from? I think that ultimately is what decides whether a movie is that or not. But don't take my word for it, because I'm not totally sure about that. You can probably go look at more information, though. It's a good question, though, that we've asked a lot about Canadian film as well. All right. Donnie Yasu writes, I'm visiting Burbank this year since I plan to move to California once I'm done with college. That's awesome. You're going to enjoy Burbank. It's great. What restaurants or cinemas should I check out? Well, the best, and one of the only, well, there are no movie theaters in Burbank really other than AMC's. There's the AMC Burbank 16, the AMC 6, and the AMC 8. And they're all within a 5-minute walk of each other. Seriously, they really are. But the AMC Burbank 16 is the third busiest movie theater in North America. And yeah, so absolutely check out. That's the thing to go. Restaurants, man, one of my favorites just shut down. But you know what? There is a great place that when I've got business meetings, I usually book them at this place. Because in Burbank, we're in the valley, right? So we're surrounded by mountains on both sides. Up on one of the mountains is this restaurant called Castaway. It's a restaurant called Castaway. Let me see if I can bring up, I'm not sure I can or not, but let me see if I can just quickly bring up some pictures of us at Castaway. So this restaurant is, like I said, it's up on the top of a hill. Okay, it's up on the top of a hill. The food is great. The restaurant is glorious. Yeah, this is a good one. I'll bring up this one here. The food's great, but it's the views. It's the views that kill you, that are just amazing. Now, this doesn't even give you, this is me, Cody Miller, preparing for the Olympics, of course, our co-host on Best Movie, Worst Movie. His wife, Allie, and my wife, Ann, this was us a couple of weeks ago, and we went up to Castaway. And you just see the view. This picture makes it look like you're not actually all that high up, but you are. And you get this incredible view of the entire valley when you're up there, of the entire San Fernando Valley. It is breathtaking and beautiful, and the food is great. So yes, if you are visiting Burbank, the restaurant I highly recommend, the movie theater is the AMC Burbank 16. The restaurant I highly recommend you check out is called Castaway. So make your reservations, and it's not terribly expensive. It's not cheap, but it's also not like, oh, $200 for a steak. Like, it's not like that. So it's fairly reasonable. Great food, beautiful views. You got to go there. Okay. Where'd we go? There we go. ZOMG Ruler writes, nice suit. Just wish they had kept going gray. I gotta admit, I'm not a fan of gray suit Batman. Never have been. Black has always made more sense to me, but that's just my personal sense. Okay. Cody Cordy writes, hey, John, what is your top 5 most anticipated movies of 2020? I don't do top 5s, just so you know. Mine are 5, A Quiet Place, 2, 4, No Time to Die, 3, Dune, 2, The Way Back, 1, Tenet. I have tons more, but these are the ones I'm really looking forward to, especially The Way Back. Listen, I got to agree with most of yours. Like, I don't list off top 5s, but I will say desperately looking forward to Dune, desperately looking forward to Tenet just because it's a Christopher Nolan film. Extremely excited about The Way Back. But I gotta say that the one I'm probably most excited about is A Quiet Place 2. Simply because 2 years ago, A Quiet Place was my favorite movie of the year. I thought A Quiet Place was the best movie of the year it came out. So since it was my favorite movie of the year, obviously A Quiet Place 2, the sequel, is going to rank way up there. And it's actually at the top of my list. Another movie I'm very, very excited about, and some people will laugh at me for this, but I don't care. I am very excited about Venom 2. I know, like, what? I had a hell of a lot of fun with the first Venom. I really, really had a good time, more than probably most people, but I had a very good time with Venom. And now that you got Andy Serkis in there and Woody Harrelson's there, I'm giddy with excitement for Venom 2. So there's a lot of good looking movies ahead of us, man. So those are some, and you got a great list there, Cody. Absolutely great list. All right. Albert Gonzalez Jr. writes, hey, John, I just wanted to say I appreciate that on your show, you always take time to honor the legacy of the actors and actresses that pass away. I know it seems minor, but it's very respectful, and it introduces us to movies we may have never seen. Love your show. Still watch every day for the past 4 years. Oh, thanks so much, man, for being around with us for that long. I hope you enjoy this job for years to come because we love your show. Oh, thanks so much, man. And that was by the way, you super chatted in there like $50. Thank you, number one, for supporting the channel on that level. We really appreciate it here. So thank you so much for that. But on top of that, yeah, I mean, listen, I don't bring up as topics whenever, if we made any former actor, actress, director passing away a story, we would literally be doing 2 of them a day. But I think whenever, it doesn't have to be a super popular one, but somebody who I think made an impact, whether people would recognize their names or not, when it's somebody that made an impact, I like to bring it up and make it a topic on the show and shed light on what they did and the career they had. And hopefully, like you said, Albert, would get people, motivate some people to mobilize themselves to make sure they check out some of their work. I think it's important, and I'm happy to do it, and I'm happy you do too. So Albert, again, thank you so much for supporting the channel, and thank you for putting up with us for 4 years now. So it's good to have you here, man. Thanks for being with us, and I hope you're with us for a long time to come, dude. Thanks again so much for that. All right. Man Mountain Gherkin writes, when asked what superpower I want, I say the power of Q. With that omnipotent power, I can use all other superpowers at whims. Is that a cheat? That is a cheat. That is akin to saying, hey, genie, I wish for 1 billion wishes. Like, you can't do that. That's a cheat. Not to mention, you can't just say the power of Q. That's like saying, I want the power of Superman. Well, that envelops a whole ton of power. Right? So I would take that as a total cheat answer. You have to give one. If there was one classical superpower, flight, speed, strength, invulnerability, invisibility, lasers, power discharges, whatever, which one would you employ? I still think it's got to be flight. Even though I'm scared of heights, to me, it's still flight. I would want to be able to fly. I don't know why. I mean, there's super great stuff about having the Luke Cage kind of invulnerability, or the Hulk's strength, or the Invisible Woman's invisibility, or Flash's speed, or whatever. But I think flight would. I think that's still the one for me. What about you guys? You got a superpower you snap your fingers and have? Mine would be flight, I think. All right, a fan of Peanuts writes, every time a Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin. Really? Seems the coin had 2 bad sides. Every time one was born, they all brought destruction. No. You're just thinking of the very limited number of Targaryens that we were exposed to on Game of Thrones. There was generation after generation, multitudes of generations of Targaryens. Just because the ones we happen to run into, that's fine. But I think it goes well beyond that, though. Got to keep that in mind. All right, Fan of Peanuts also writes, just watch The Natural, with Robert Redford. What are your thoughts? Mine are, at first, felt hammy and overtly tropey. However, once I got into the flow and rhythm of the story and observed the tale play out, I realized just how beautifully shot and directed it was. What a cast. It grew a lot of me, ultimately 8 out of 10. I don't give numerical scores to movies anymore, but that's probably right around where mine would be as well. And that ending with the ball shooting out, I mean, it's one of the most iconic endings ever. I tell you what, I really do enjoy that movie a lot. Like, from the beginning on. From the beginning all the way through, I think it's just a wonderful, wonderful movie. And I haven't thought about it. I admit, Fan of Peanuts, I haven't thought about it in a while. I'm glad you brought it up. I need to watch that again. But yeah, I agree. If I did give numerical scores to movies, which I don't anymore, it would probably roughly fall right around where you put yours as well. So I totally agree. All right, Robert Perez writes, just wanted to say hi. Well, thank you, Robert. Hello right back at you, sir. All right, James Bonner writes, at the risk of sounding repetitive, as I'm sure others will bring this up, your thoughts on the news about Lucasfilm developing a movie set on the Sith planet Exegol. I don't know that that's news. Here's the thing. I know just before, hold on a second. Just before the show started, I saw some headlines coming out about this new filmmaker they're going to use for a Star Wars movie, blah, 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 blah. Let me just bring this up. DJ Dillard. Okay. So it's funny because Variety is reporting an exclusive, and Hollywood Reporter is reporting an exclusive. So I'm not quite sure who's who on what. This is what we've got right now, but I have not had a chance to go through and read the stories yet because, I was coming right down through. So here's what we got. Director J.D. Dillard and Luke Cage writer Matt Owens have been tapped to develop a project, but it's unclear whether it's a theatrical or Disney Plus release. Hollywood Reporter learned Friday Star Wars and Blu-rays directing inside where the project will be on the big screen. Plot, characters, and settings are all unknown. So there we go. Any other reports saying that it's on Exegol, I have not heard or seen. It's probably something somebody's made up, or maybe it's coming from another one of the major trades. I don't know yet. I haven't had a chance to research that. But I am at the point where I'm tired of hearing. I'm tired of hearing about new Star Wars projects. I want to see new Star Wars projects. Because we hear about the Cassian Andor, and it's delayed. And we hear about Obi-Wan, and it's delayed. And we hear about the Benioff and Weiss movies, it's canceled. I got to admit, I'm kind of over hearing about new Star Wars projects. I'm over it at this point. I want to see Star Wars projects. I don't buy into the hearing about them anymore. I want to see them. All right? Like with all the frickin' drama, that's we want. This is happening, it's not happening. This is happening, it's not happening. This is coming then. No, it's not. Now we're pushing it back and blah, blah, blah. I just don't get excited now. Right? Like, remember when Kevin Feige is going to produce a Star Wars movie? Great, we all got excited, and we haven't heard a damn thing since. Not a damn thing since. It's been months. And not a damn thing since. So I just can't get excited. Now, when we actually are getting new Star Wars, I will be excited. But until then, I just can't get, I don't care if it's the Hollywood Reporter say, okay, oh, this is being developed. Great. But being developed doesn't really mean anything these days, does it? I want to see a release date. I want to see production has started. That's what I want to see. The tangibilization. And this is why the tangibilization is so important to me, because we've seen so often, particularly in Star Wars lately, we hear about all these wonderful things happening and they don't. They just don't. I'm not saying Kevin Feige isn't going to produce a Star Wars movie, but what was the point of getting excited hearing about it when months will pass and we don't hear a damn another lick about it? Obi-Wan is coming. Oh, turns out it's not. Cassian, maybe, maybe not. 2022, maybe, maybe not. I mean, I'm tired. I'm tired. I will be excited when you announce shooting has started on whatever. That's when I'll get excited. That's why I'm excited for Mandalorian season 2, because they actually did start shooting it. They're shooting the season. It's being done. So I feel good about that. I'm into that. But until I actually hear something is actually in production, they're in front of cameras and they're shooting footage now, then I just can't get excited about it. I wish I could, and I will when I hear it shooting, but until then James, I've just been jaded. I've been jaded, James. I've been jaded. All right. Robert Perez writes, saw Ford v Ferrari and I enjoyed it. Next, Jojo Rabbit. Yeah, Ford v Ferrari was great. And absolutely, I'm a little bit jealous right now because you get to watch Jojo Rabbit for the first time. And that's awesome. All right, Fan of Peanuts writes, of the story... Oh, so we already covered that. Double Crit writes, ignoring drama, thoughts on Amber Heard as Mara. Ignoring drama? I thought she was perfectly good. Taking all the other off-camera nonsense going on, I thought she was perfectly good as Mara. As a matter of fact, I enjoyed Aquaman. I thought it was quite good. Adam Langevin writes, Batman Mach 1 suit will evolve. Thought. Well, yeah, somebody else brought up that we could see it. Remember, this is Batman, I believe they're saying, coming near the end of his second year of crime fighting. So it's not like this is Batman year 1 or anything like that. But yeah, somebody else brought up a little bit earlier that we could see multiple suits in it, and I would be totally down for that. It would make sense that we'd have multiple suits for different circumstances. Dan writes, is the fight worth the watch tonight? I think so. Now, and I'm not a big boxing fan. Boxing fan is patty cakes with big pillows on your hands compared to MMA. MMA is the vastly superior sport. But I did watch that first fight between Tyson and Wilder. That fight was crazy. That was a crazy fight. Two true big heavyweights. It was a very, I'm a way more of an MMA guy than patty cake with pillows on your hands. But I got to tell you, man, that fight was legit. And I'm actually, this is the first time I've been excited for a boxing match in a while. It's been a while, but I'm excited to see this fight. I think it's worth the watch. All right, Jay Watt writes, first time chat, recent subscriber, love the show. Thank you so much, Jay Watt. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sending in support, and thank you for being part of our community, man. It's good to have you here. Thank you for that. Zach Carper writes, I love the suit. Also, Felder v. Hooker KO. I don't know enough about it. Sasuke Kuchia writes, do you miss Poutine from Canada? Love the show. Absolutely do. Yep, because I've tried poutine here in the States and it's just not the same. It's just not the same. Redhead Media writes, imagine the hallway scene from Daredevil, but with this new Batman. That's what I'm hoping for with this new movie. Raw, down to earth, and Batman who struggles. Well, I mean, we definitely got a Batman who struggles in Ben Affleck's Batman. Oh God, I love that Batman. Anyway, I think we are going to get a little bit more grounded. Listen, it's a Batman movie. There's going to be fantastical things built into the movie for sure. But I do think he's going to go for more than that. And if I'm holding it to his promise, Matt Reeves has said in the past, he wants to also focus a little bit more on the detective aspect of Batman, which is something none of the other films really did get into. I mean, Michael Keaton's did a little bit. Christian Bale's did a little bit. Ben Affleck's did a little bit. But I think the criticism that the Batman movies have never really delved into the detective aspect of Batman. I mean, his original comics were called Detective Comics. And I think that's a fair criticism. And it'd be really neat to see if Matt Reeves also decides to go a little bit more into that direction as well, because I think that could be really cool to see. So a little more gritty, a little more tactical. Again, I think the suit itself looks more practical than other ones do. And then add in a little bit more of that detective aspect. And I think we could be in for something really fun, Redhead. We'll see, but I think we could be in for something really fun. All right. R. Lee writes, remember when the Shazam set photos came out and people laughed at the outfit? Yep. Well, the movie came out and it was a top 5 of the year. So history tells me not to get worked up over a set photo. And it's not just the set photo. Look, at the end of the day, and by the way, Shazam's costume worked in Shazam, and I love that movie. I unabashedly, unapologetically love that Shazam movie. I totally do. That said, is it the greatest costume? No. It's not. And it doesn't matter. It didn't matter. It is not the best costume they could have gone with. They did over-pad it and all that kind of stuff. And all that criticism is true. But guess what? It didn't hurt the film one bit. That movie is glorious. And it's glorious despite the fact that I don't think the suit was all that great. It didn't matter. And that's why, yes, I would prefer to like the costume. Sure, obviously I would prefer to like it. But even if I don't, that's not going to hurt my my estimation of how good or bad I think the movie could be, right? I mean, it's always good to like the costume, and I do like the costume. But yeah, the Shazam one is a great example of that, Arlie. That's a great example, as a matter of fact. Okay, let's see. The Harsh Truth writes, recently got ambitious and decided to teach myself how to write a screenplay. Nice, good on you, man. Do you have any suggestions for a beginner? Just write. Honestly. That get a good piece of software. A good one that I like is called Celtic. Let me see if I can bring it up here. It's a free one. Yes, Celtex. It's CELTX. Let me see if I can bring it up here on the screen. This is actually the software that I used. Let me see if I can get some. I can't even get a screenshot of it. Let me see if I can get a screenshot of it. This is the software that I used when I wrote my little romantic comedy called The Anniversary. I actually used Celtics, and it's free. It's great for helping you formatting, but that's all just formatting stuff, whatever. The real big main thing here is just write. Don't wait to start typing. Don't wait to have the perfect words in your head to start typing. Just type. Even if you're typing gibberish, just type. I've always said this. It's absolutely true in all areas of life, and particularly in writing. You cannot steer a parked car. A car that's in park, you can't steer it anywhere. You're parked. Get the car moving, and then you can start steering. Start writing. Just start writing, and then you can start to figure out a way. But as long as you just sit there in your chair and going, what should my next word be? You're never going to get anywhere. So that's the best advice I've ever had to give anybody. And I'm not a great writer by any stretch of the imagination, but just as somebody who has written some stuff, I can tell you, just write. And good on you for teaching yourself how to do it, man. That's really great. All right, Tyler Yeats writes, I love your show, John. Thank you so much, Tyler. Appreciate that. Having some drinks and watching Infinity War and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for the 100th time. Hey, listen, it's always a good night when you can get together with some friends, pop in some good movies and having a good time. I don't drink myself, but give me a bottle of Diet Pepsi and I'll come and join you sometime. All right, that sounds like a really good night, Tyler. All right, Jonathan Riaz writes, the look of the Batman costume excites me because it's reminiscent of the design from Batman Zero Year, a comic run that's very Riddler heavy. Again, and I'm sure there are a number, like I said, for me, it's kind of to me more reminiscent of the Arkham outfit of Batman, symbol notwithstanding. Somebody else wrote in that it looked like it reminded them of something from somewhere else. To you, it reminds you, and I think there's a lot of elements of that. They're probably drawing a lot of inspiration from a lot of different times and places, Jonathan, throughout the Batman lore. And that's probably by design. It's probably by design. And look, let's be honest here. It doesn't matter what this Batman costume looked like. It doesn't matter what it looked like. Some people would like it and some people wouldn't. That's just it. They were never going to design a costume that everybody said, I think that looks great. You're never going to do it. No matter what they made it look like, some people would like it and some people wouldn't. I think it looks perfectly good. That's just me. But again, I don't think it's that important. All right, Thomas Patterson writes, where'd we go here? Thomas Patterson writes, it's been a while since I've had a F yeah moment quite like the ending of the first episode of The Hunters. Probably Endgame was the last time. Just stellar. I'm in love with this Amazon original show. Hey, you're the second person right. Again, I've been hearing mediocre things about it. I've been hearing it's okay. Al Pacino is awesome, but the series overall isn't that great. But you're the second person today, Thomas, to write in to say that you really, really are enjoying it, or at least you enjoyed the first episode. So, I'm thinking I might have to get on board with this one. Because a lot of you guys seem to like it a lot. So I might have to hop on this one. Thank you for your recommendation, Thomas. I appreciate it. All right. Where are we at here? Axel Joel Official writes, hey, John, greetings from Puerto Rico. Well, thank you for writing from there, man. After Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, should we just forget about Jared Leto's Joker? Or there's any chance that we can see him again? I think we can probably forget about it. Listen, there was a part of me that was really hoping to see a small cameo with him. I was really hoping. But if you can't even make a cameo for him in a Harley Quinn movie, much like you couldn't even get Henry Cavill to do that short little cameo, and they had to get a body double for Superman and Shazam, I think that pretty much means you can write them off. That probably pretty much means you can write them off, which is too bad because look, I know there's a lot of people that didn't like Jared Leto's Joker. Okay, that's fine. That doesn't change the fact that I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought Jared Leto's Joker was a lot of fun. And I loved him and Harley Quinn's relationship and the dynamic and the toxic codependency of it all. I thought it was great, and I really did like his Joker. It was a very different Joker, granted, but it was very Joker to me. And I liked it, and I really want to see it. But I think at this point, Axel, I think we can pretty much write that off. I think that's too bad, but I think we can write it off. Akamaru writes, hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much, Akamaru. I just read an article saying The Call of the Wild is expected to have a $26 million opening weekend. Your thoughts? Thanks. Yeah, I mean, that's better than I thought. I read earlier they're expecting 20, so 26 is pretty good, but here's the thing. This is a $110 million budget movie. This movie's going to flop. Call of the Wild, unless we start hearing that it's the best movie of the year and all this kind of stuff, this movie's going to flop. Now, I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's good or bad. I do know greenlighting this movie for $110 million, and that's not counting marketing. There was no way this movie was ever going to break even. So I don't know what they were thinking, but 26 million is better than I thought it would by a bit. But it's still way too low. This is going to be a financial disaster for them. All right. Dylan Valenti writes, should we put the shirt size in the email? You can, but I cannot guarantee you'll get the shirt size you want. Like I ordered like 20 shirts. They're all in various sizes. I will do what I can, but you might end up getting a shirt that's a little bit too big, or you might end up getting a shirt that's a little too small. I can't, because I got what I got. I mean, that's all I can say is that I got what I got. So you can, but just understand, I can't guarantee you'll get the shirt you request. You might get one that's a little bit too large or whatever, but I will do the best that I can. I will do the best that I can. All right. Next up, Ryan Hewitt writes, good choice in switching over to DaVinci Resolve. I use it daily at my job. Looking forward to your documentary. On a side note, I did a double feature recently watching The Gentleman and Sonic. I absolutely love The Gentleman. Oh, dude, yeah. First of all, so what he's talking about, DaVinci Resolve is a video editing program. And it is fantastic. I've been using Adobe Premiere to do my video editing for a lot of years, ever since I switched over to it from Final Cut. And I do enjoy it. The problem I've been having is, and I have a beast of a machine. My machine is beast. What I was finding we're shooting my documentary in 4K. And what I was finding was when I would even just play around with footage in Premiere, I was finding just weird little hiccups would happen. And like when I would render something out, it's like sometimes a render would go from its nice smooth 24 frames a second, all of a sudden down to like 8 frames a second in the render when it would play through fine in the timeline. It's just a lot of little quirks, a lot of little inconsistencies. And I just thought I need, with all the time and energy and effort and money I'm putting into making this documentary, I need a piece of software that I can really count on, that is going to be rock solid, and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of people recommended DaVinci Resolve to me, and I started playing around with it, and oh my God, it's a dream. And here's the other key thing too. If this movie I'm making doesn't end up being total dog shit, and it very well may, because I'm the one who's making it. So it could end up being total dog shit. I mean, it might be. But if it ends up being pretty good, and with the amount of content providers out there desperately looking for content, and I'm able to like sell the movie to, I don't know, to an Amazon or to a Netflix or to a Hulu or to a wherever, then a lot of they're going to require me to take my movie and give it to a professional color gradist house to do professional color grading on it, professional sound. And what my buddy recommended to me is like, most of those places use DaVinci. And so it'll just make even your workflow a lot simpler if you can take your external RAIDs with everything already in DaVinci and just take it right over to them in that everything's there. It just will make your post-production process a little bit better. It just, a lot of things started to add up that convinced me I should try DaVinci. And by the way, you know how much DaVinci costs? It's free. You can get DaVinci Resolve for free. It's a free program. It's crazy. Now, there is a pro version of it that has a few extra features in it, and I did buy the pro version of it, but it's just a few extra features. 95% of you out there, if you're looking to get into video editing, you won't need those extra features that DaVinci, the studio version has. You can get the full-bodied, full DaVinci Resolve for free. Play around with it. I think you'll have a good time with it. So there's that. So anyway, and I'm glad, Ryan, that you loved. I just like whenever I get a chance to talk about tech and production and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm glad you like The Gentleman. It is my favorite film of 2020 so far. So far, The Gentleman. We're early in the year, but it's my favorite film of 2020. All right. Lord Alucard writes, guess the quote. If you're from the future, who's the U.S. president? Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, the actor. Who's the vice president? Jerry Lewis. I can see it in my head. I can see it in my head. I'm thinking Back to the Future. Could be wrong, but I'm thinking Back to the Future. I think that's Christopher. Oh, what's the act? Why am I freezing on Christopher's? Anyway, I think that's Doc saying, "Ronald Reagan, the actor." I think so. I'm gonna go with I'm going to go with Back to the Future. Okay, let's see here. Ben Rayner writes, keep one, lose one. Matchstick Men or Face Off? Always keep Face Off. Always keep Face Off. And people reminding me in the chat board, it's Christopher Lloyd. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Christopher Lloyd. That's what it is. Why did I freeze in Christopher Lloyd's name? But yeah, Face Off every day. Face Offs every day. If I let you suck my tongue, would you be grateful? Always Face Off. Always Face Off. Tim Platt writes, a couple of movies in my top 5 from last year that I don't really hear a lot about are Richard Jewell. Yeah, because not a lot of people saw it. And I'll say this about Richard Jewell. It wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be, but it was certainly really good. I enjoyed it a lot. And Dark Waters. What are your thoughts on those? I can't even remember which one Dark Waters is. Give me a second here. Which one is Dark Waters again? Dark Waters. It's the Aaron Brockovich movie. It's not really Aaron Brockovich. It's the Aaron Brockovich movie, of course, with Mark Ruffalo, Anne Hathaway, Tim Robbins. It was really good. It's totally Aaron Brockovich, but it's also totally really good. But I think a lot of people wouldn't. In as few people that saw Richard Jewell, I only think because Kathy Bates got an Academy Award nomination for it that I thought a lot less people would have even seen it. A few more people got turned on to it because of her nomination. But yeah, I thought that one was really, really good. And again, not as good as I was hoping. I was hoping for like all-time greatest Clint Eastwood movie. Didn't get that, but yet another very, very solid movie in Clint Eastwood's repertoire for sure. Those are two good ones, Tim. All right, Curtis Lopez writes, saw Call of the Wild last night. Nice little movie. Well, it's good to hear. Like I said, I haven't seen it, but it's good to hear that it's nice. I mean, I would hope, Harrison Ford wouldn't get involved in a screenplay that was terrible. Jose Ramirez writes, the video games I want to see adapted TV series is Elder Scrolls. It has fantasy. They have different races like Orcs, Dark Elf, High Elf. Yeah, I mean, the thing about Elder Scrolls is you really can do whatever you want with it, right? Like you can do whatever you want with it. You can make it one way. There's not really one story that you follow in Elder Scrolls. So you can do kind of whatever you want with it. It just gives you a neat world. But that's also part of the downside about it, is that there's not really anything Elder Scrolls-ish you can do about it, other than it gives you an interesting fantasy world. Because there are many things that have orcs and elves and things like that, right? You can make up anything that has orcs and elves and all that kind of stuff, and it doesn't need to be Elder Scrolls. So, I don't know. I've been playing Elder Scrolls ever since like Elder Scrolls 2. Okay? I've been playing Elder Scrolls for a long time. So I would personally get a kick out. I just don't know how big of a thing it would be. We'll have to wait and see. All right, guys, listen. We still got a bunch of questions to get through here, but my drink has run dry. My throat's getting sore. So I'm going to take just a little bit of a break here, give myself a chance to rest the vocal cords for a little bit because we've been going on for about an hour and 15 minutes. Stretch my legs. Going to go refill my drink. So if you guys will indulge me, give me just a couple of minutes. I'm going to run downstairs and do all that. So take this opportunity yourselves, guys, to run and use the bathroom, do whatever you want to do. So hang tight, guys. Don't go anywhere, and I will be right back. are back. Thank you guys for your patience and indulgence as I took a little bit of a break there to refill my drink. So let's jump right back into it here. And we're going to keep things going here with Jay Watt, who writes, recently, a new subscriber. Well, thank you for joining us, Jay Watt. You have no idea how excited I was when I found out that you have a live morning show. Truly makes my morning. Well, thank you for joining us. And for those you may or may not know, we do the John Campea Show live, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., sometimes later than that. But 9 a.m. on for a couple of hours, Monday through Friday. We talk about our favorite topics in the world, movies, movie news, television, stuff like that. So yeah, if you haven't done so already, follow Jay Watt's example, subscribe on up, and come and join us. And it's really good to have you here, Jay Watt. And we're glad that you're part of our community now. All right. Curtis Lopez writes, after seeing it and what the dog has to do, I totally get now why the dog was CGI. I still don't think there's any excuse for it. Like, listen, in movies, sometimes you have to CGI people because something crazy is happening. I'm okay if they at parts of the movie needed to use a CGI dog. I'm okay with that. But scenes like the dog sitting there on the floor or just walking across a street, like, why not use a real dog and then CGI the dog when you have to? Like, that's the part to me. Like, I'm a dog guy, but I'm not turned on or interested by a dog movie where it's a fake dog. I don't know. It's just me. Maybe that's fair. Maybe that's unfair, but it is what it is. All right. Nick Unger writes, have you seen the ILM video? Yeah, we talked about this one the other day, actually. Have you seen the ILM video on the VFX of The Mandalorian? It's incredible what they're doing with the Unreal Engine virtual sets. It is crazy. And there has been some stuff out about that for a while. And then the full video came out. If you have not seen it, you got to follow Nick Unger's advice here and go check it out. It is really jaw-dropping what they're able to do. And again, ILM, they are the greatest visual effects house in the world. And they continue to innovate and push the boundaries and doing new things as they always have. And yeah, again, guys, take Nick's advice and go check out that video because it's great. Thanks for bringing that up, Nick. All right. Russell Amador writes, hey, John, are there any movies on your radar this weekend? I was thinking of opting for The Lodge, if not watching Wilder versus Fury. The next 2 weeks, I'll be in the theater, no doubt, with The Invisible Man, and then the following week with The Way Back. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to those. You know what? There's really nothing calling me back to the movie theater this weekend. That's not a press thing. There's really nothing calling me back. I mean, a part of me is morbidly curious to go check out The Way Back. Sorry, Call of the Wild. I'm curious to go check out Call of the Wild. Just to see how it is. I'm also thinking about, because Anne hasn't had a chance to see Sonic yet. And Anne has actually been excited to see Sonic. So maybe at some point this weekend, I might go back and see Sonic again. But other than that, there's not really a lot calling me back to the theaters this weekend. So I'm totally good to watch the fights tonight. Have a nice relaxing day tomorrow. That's what I'm looking forward to this weekend. But hey, tell me what you think about whatever it is you end up going to go see, Russell. All right. Sasuke Kuchiya writes, I'm looking forward to Woody Harrelson's Cornage. There's going to be Cornage. That really is the way he said it, isn't it, Sasuke? Edward Idle writes, greetings from Buffalo. I like Buffalo. I used to drive into Buffalo over the border from Hamilton all the time. Drive down through Niagara, go into Buffalo. Because I love hockey, but it was impossible to get Toronto Maple Leaf tickets. So a lot of times when my dad wanted to take me to a hockey game, we'd have to go into Buffalo and we'd go watch a Sabres game. It was great because you could get tickets and they weren't as expensive. So it was great, but I do like Buffalo. Anyway, nice game of check of Superman. Let's see. Nice name check of Superman co-creator and good Canadian kid Joe Shuster. Are you familiar with the history of the Canadian comic book industry? It's very interesting. Awesome show as always. You know what? I'm really not. I do not know the history of the comic book industry from particularly a Canadian perspective and from how it evolved in Canada. I really am not. Actually, you know what? A documentary, now that I'm kind of in a documentary mode, a documentary on the history of the comic industry in Canada and what has come out of Canada, I think would be fascinating. I think that would be fascinating because I really don't. I mean, of course I know Schuster, but I know a little bit, but how it specifically pertains to Canadians and their contributions and the Canadian market's contributions to the world of comic books, I'm really not that familiar with it, to be honest with you. And I think that would be a fabulous documentary subject, Edward. Thank you for breaking that up. All right. Taki75 writes, I'm curious if the 86% in Rotten Tomatoes who liked The Rise of Skywalker did it the same way you liked The Phantom Menace when you first saw it. I mean, no, everybody's got to stop that. Everybody's got to stop that. That was like 20 years ago, right? Like, here's the thing. I talk all the time about how I pretty much talked myself into liking The Phantom Menace when it first came out. And then I realized after I saw it like 20 times, like, this is truly a terrible movie. And so now today, whenever like I come out and say, I didn't like this movie, people say, well, maybe it's, or I like this movie, right? I like Suicide Squad. It's a hot mess of a movie, it is, but I enjoyed it. And somebody will ultimately say, well, you like The Phantom Menace when it first came out? Yeah, that was fucking 20 years ago. That was 20 fucking years ago. You need to get over that. It's something that happens 1 out of a million times. So no, listen, people like The Rise of Skywalker because they like The Rise of Skywalker, period. Stop trying to come up with excuses as to, well, maybe they didn't really, because 5,000 movies ago, 20 years ago, this happened with this one particular movie. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. Look, I didn't like The Rise of Skywalker. That's fine. I didn't like it. But that doesn't mean other people aren't going to like it. A lot of people do like The Rise of Skywalker. A lot of people like it. And it's because, you ready for this? They liked it because they liked it. Period. End of sentence. No more discussion needed. They liked it because they liked it. And we need to stop with this whole thing about, well, 20 years ago, there was an example of a movie. Yeah, that was fucking 20 years ago. Let it go. Let it go. They liked it because they liked it. Now, with every movie in the history of mankind, there is somebody who saw a movie that didn't like it and maybe later did, or liked it and maybe later didn't. That is true of every movie that's ever come out in history. But yeah, we gotta stop with this trying to come up with excuses or reasons why people like movies that we ourselves did not like. I didn't like The Rise of Skywalker. I don't think it's a good movie. I think it's a bad movie. But that doesn't mean other people can't like it. And it doesn't mean I have to try to rationalize in my head and come up with an excuse as to how can they possibly like that movie when I don't like that movie? That can't be. Yeah, it can. Yeah, it can. So we got to move past that, Tacky. We got to move past that, brother. You got to move past it. I got to move past it. We just got to move past it. All right. Jared Morris writes, Valentina is a true badass and a beast. Not sure if you heard the tiny rumor, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's true that Valentina is a Russian asset. LOL. Also, thoughts on her now training with Khabib, help with her wrestling. Aryan Hawaiian confirms this. She is a Terminator. She's a Terminator, period. Like, and she nearly beat the Lioness twice, when she is clearly the much smaller fighter. She's so, like, both times that they fought, you could tell she was so overmatched physically. Like, she's just so much smaller, right? And she still nearly pulled off beating her. Still almost did it. She is, listen, a lot of people, but Shevchenko is maybe the best pound for pound female fighter in the world. Now, I know a lot of people will get their backs up at that because Lioness is a champ. She holds 2 belts. And she has wins over Valentina. I get that. But I'm saying pound for pound, I think she might be the scariest creature in female mixed martial arts. She is insane. And she can beat you 1,000 ways. And if she's training with Khabib, can you imagine? Oh, it's frightening. It's absolutely frightening to think about. Anyway, Ivan Lekovich writes, favorite live-action Spider-Man villain portrayals. Favorite Spider-Man villain portrayal is Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2. That's my favorite one. It's, I mean, there have been a lot of very good ones. Michael Keaton's Vulture was absolutely fabulous as well, but I got to go back to Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2. Dylan Valenti writes, did you watch the first episode of Clone Wars? No. I thought it was amazing. What are your thoughts on the Bad Batch? Not interested I mean, look, I watched all of Clone Wars. I've seen it all. I don't like Clone Wars. So I have no interest in watching Clone Wars season 7. It's not a show that's for me. Other people watch it and like it, and that's awesome. I celebrate that. But I didn't like it. So there's no point in me going back and spending more time, my time, especially when there's a lot of other shows that I do want to watch. Like, I've got people trying to get me to watch The Hunter, so I got to try to make time for that. I still have never watched a single episode of BoJack Horseman. I got to get on that. I've got a number of films or series on my list that I need to start getting caught up on that I can't use some of that time to watch a show I already know I'm not a big fan of. So, no, did not see the new Clone Wars. Probably not planning on watching it myself. But hey, if other people watch and like it, that's awesome. I celebrate that there are Star Wars fans out there getting some new Star Wars content that they really enjoy. That is great. It's just not for me, and that's fine. All right. Jeremy writes, Scott Pilgrim versus the best live action cartoon. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I don't know if I'd say that, but I love Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Edgar Wright did such an amazing job on that film. Just so quirky. Why are you talking to me, Google? Edgar Wright did such a wonderful job on that film. Such a cool little movie. I just love that film. All right, Dylan Valenti writes, I understand your feelings on the new Star Wars announcements. What do you think they'll announce at Celebration, and will we have a chance to meet you there? I will probably be at Star Wars Celebration. Yeah. I don't know if we're still going to do it. Christian Harloff and I, because it's going to be in Anaheim this year, I believe. Christian Harloff and Anne is daily working on her, which number did she give herself? I can't remember, like Sixth Sister, whatever. She's working on her cosplay for Star Wars Celebration. I remember Christian and I talked briefly about, hey, maybe we should set up a meet and greet together at Star Wars Celebration, but that was a long time ago that we talked about. I don't know if we're still going to do that or not. But anyway, I will probably be there. And if I am going to be there, I'll plan a place that I will be at a certain time. Like maybe I'll say, hey, if any of you are there and you want to meet, I'm going to be at 12 o'clock on this day of Star Wars Celebration standing in front of blah. And then maybe a bunch of us can get together and do a quick meet and greet. But I will let you know. Let's see. As far as what they're going to announce, no idea. I hope they announce something, but announce something and then tell us, we're doing this movie and we're starting to shoot it next month. Like, don't just say some theoretical stuff because, again, I can't get excited about the theoretical stuff anymore. All right. Next up, Christian Borge writes, patty cake with pillows on your hands. John, I nearly choked from laughter when you said that. Warn me next time. And listen, I know there are boxing fans who get incredibly offended when I say that. Look, boxing is clearly what do they call it? The sweet science. There is an incredible level of skill and toughness that goes into boxing. Don't get me wrong. When I use like terminology like that, all due respect, I'm just saying I find MMA to be the vastly superior sport. It's just where every part of your body can be a weapon. And it's like in boxing, I'm always like, oh, you knocked him down. Now get down there and finish him. Oh, in boxing, you can't. Oh, you fell down? Okay, I'll just back up and let you get back up. I don't know. But I much prefer mixed martial arts. But please, when I'm joking around saying things like patty cake with pillows in your hands, understand I do have a huge respect for how hard and how much of a science and how much skill and training go into the art of boxing. It's just that, a boxer in a cage with an MMA fighter will get destroyed. It just is what it is. Unless you only play by the rules of patty cake with pillows on your hands. Like, if you hold the boxing rules and put a Conor McGregor in the ring with a Floyd Mayweather, well, I told everybody, Conor McGregor has no chance. Of course he doesn't. But what did it take? How long did it take Floyd Mayweather to stop Conor? Was it like 7-8 rounds? Conor McGregor would literally destroy Floyd Mayweather within 90 seconds. That I guarantee you, in an MMA ring, Floyd Mayweather doesn't last 90 seconds. I'm not using hyperbole. I'm not joking. Floyd Mayweather will either have an arm broken, or will be choked out, or will be knocked out, or have his leg busted or something within 90 seconds. 90 seconds maximum. So yeah, in a boxing ring, by the limited boxing rules, a boxer will beat an MMA guy every single time. In a no rules or MMA rules thing where you can use your whole body as a weapon, there's no boxer alive who can beat a professional MMA fighter. It just can't happen. Just can't happen. But anyway, that's just me. I know I'm going to allow people mad at me for that, but whatever. Tim Platt writes, I was thinking the other day about how both the John Williams and Hans Zimmer's themes perfectly match the Superman portrayed in their respective movies. Absolutely do. And listen, they are two, to me, of my favorite movie themes of all time. Hans Zimmer's What Are You Going to Do When You're Not Saving the World, which is the name of the piece, and John Williams's main Superman theme are two of my favorite movie themes of all time. And listen, Tim, I don't know if you knew this, but if you go onto YouTube and search John Williams, Hans Zimmer, Superman theme, there is somebody who took it and did a blend of the two, and it's awesome. And it's absolutely awesome. If you have not heard it, Tim, definitely go and check that out, because it's really cool to hear. All right. Stephanie Hayner writes, what are your thoughts on them tying the Joker and the Batman together in a trilogy? That's a cash cow waiting to happen. People would go crazy. Are you talking about like the Joaquin Phoenix Joker? Oh no, that's a terrible idea. No, that's a terrible idea. The world that Todd Phillips created for that Joker, a Batman can't exist in. It's just can't. He can't. That's just not the way that world was designed. Not to mention, Joker would be 60 plus years old by the time that young Bruce Wayne was actually a Batman. So you're talking about a 65 closing in on 70-year-old Joker by the time that young Bruce Wayne becomes Batman. So that doesn't work. So no, I just don't think that would work at all. That iteration of Joker that Joaquin Phoenix did was perfect for the world they created specifically for him to exist. That Joker does not fit or work in a more of a comic book style movie of a film that would have a Batman. You know what I mean? So I really have never thought that idea would work at all. Create a different Joker for Batman, but leave that Joker alone. You know, that's kind of my take on it, because that Joker's nearly 50 years old and Bruce is what, 7, 8, 9? I don't know how old that Bruce Wayne was in the movie, but yeah, so there are actually several problems there, Stephanie, that I see. One, it's just the worlds do not intermingle. They can't. There's no synchronicity there, if you will. Also, there's the age problem. I just don't see it. And honestly, I don't think a lot of people would be. I think trying to throw a Batman into the Joaquin Phoenix Joker world undermines what that Joaquin Joker is. And I think it subverts that Joker and it undermines that Joker. So I would actually say no. I would say no. I don't think it would be a good idea at all, which is why I don't think they'll do it. But this is Hollywood, Stephanie. This is Hollywood, which means never say never. Never say never, even for something like that. So keep your eyes open. You never know, Steph. All right. Bobby Stevens writes, my friend and I are writing a Back to the Future reboot with Tom Holland as Marty. What movie would you want to write a reboot for? Megaforce. I think if a Hollywood studio came to me and said, you can write a reboot for anything, I'm writing a reboot of Megaforce, because life is like a wheel. It all comes around. And my hero would still be named Ace. Ace would still be the hero of my movie. So Megaforce is the one that I would write. All right. Nicholas writes, I saw that former NHL player Sean Avery has been cast in Tenet based on his interview with Barstool Sports. I was surprised to learn he's been cast in other movies besides Tenet. Oh, I have no idea about that, really? Well, clearly, listen, this is a movie that's been filming forever. They've got to be almost finished filming Tenet. They've got to be getting close to being done that movie. So it must be just some small, tiny little thing. I'm not sure. Sean Avery was a character, by the way. Sean Avery as an NHL player was a character. I mean, I used to watch him on the Avalanche. Hold on a second. Let me put him in here into IMDb because I'm not familiar with any stuff that he's been in. So let me check it out here. Sean Avery. And he was born in North York, which is only about 45 minutes from my hometown of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. There you go. Let's see. So apparently he appeared in Mile 22. He appeared in Patriot Day. He's appeared in a couple things. Also, let me bring this up here. That's kind of interesting. I didn't know that. I had no idea that he was appearing in stuff like that. Anyway, considering how far into the movie it is, which I honestly might have even thought they were done production. Anyway, it's probably like a really small little thing, but he was a character. Love him or hate him. You hated him if he was on the other team. You loved him if he was on yours, but he was a real entertaining character and a good Canadian kid. Thanks for sharing that, Nicholas. I had no idea about that. I had no idea. All right. Mike Thompson writes, sure, having Spidey in the MCU is nice and all, but if this Sony/Disney partnership continues for a while, I really want to see Blade and Morbius fight. It's possible. Like, the way things are right now, and this is just pure speculation. I'm not basing this on any insider information. This is just me as a fan speculating. That's all. I really do think this new deal they have is the end of the line. I think Sony is positioning things for their own Spider-Man universe again, aside from MCU and bringing Spider-Man back. And I think Marvel is going to be preparing for that same thing as well. I think they know that this is the final deal. I think they know that. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I think they really are. So it'll be interesting to see. So I don't know if we're ever going to see Blade and Morbius. I mean, it would be a natural thing to do, right? Like if they actually did cross over the universes, Blade versus Morbius is a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Unless, of course, Morbius flops at the box office and maybe Blade doesn't do so well, then crossing them over makes no sense. But really, other than that, other than maybe their individual movies flopping, makes total sense. Anonymous viewer writes, hey, John, ever seen Weekend at Bernie's? Dude, we've talked about Weekend at Bernie's on this movie a number of times. Yes, I've absolutely seen Weekend at Bernie's. Oldie, but classic. Adam Langevin writes, used Adobe Encore to burn DVDs, but no longer have access to it as nothing is as good. I know you're not a big DVD person, but do you know of any DVD burning softwares that are up to par with Adobe Encore? No. Like I said, I haven't touched physical media in forever. I don't even know what, I mean, I remember back in the day, I used to use a lot of these smaller, like, DVD Trip and some others, but this, we're talking 10 years ago. I think it might be at least 10 years since I burned my last DVD, to be honest with you. So I do not know. I didn't even know Adobe Encore was still a thing. I have the full Adobe suite. I don't even know is Encore still a thing of it? Is that still a part of it? I'm assuming it burns Blu-rays now too, but yes, as far as I know, I'm not the right guy to ask about that. Sorry about that, Adam. I haven't touched physical media in so long. It's crazy. Jay Watts writes, still waiting for the Last of Us movie. A lot, you and me and a whole lot of other people too, man. I wonder, and again, this is not based on any insider information. This is just me wondering. I wonder if I wouldn't be surprised. Let's just put it that way. I wouldn't be surprised if once we got around to the launch of Last of Us 2, if piggybacking on that was the announcement of a Last of Us movie. Don't know. It could make sense. I don't know. But yeah, a lot of people are waiting on that one too, Jay Watt. You're not the only one. Suthius writes, do you think WB will replace Amber Heard as Mara? I don't know. I'm going to guess no. Phil Corvelli writes, "Hey, John, I was wondering, solely based on the premise, would you be interested in a Red Dead Redemption 2 series on Amazon or Netflix? I, for one, would be thrilled if this happened. Thanks." Well, you know what I'm going to say, right? Not really. I mean, if they do it, fine. Great if they do it. But it really doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter how good the game is or isn't. It doesn't matter how good the comic is or isn't. It doesn't matter how good the novel is or isn't. It all comes down to, is it executed right? And that's all that really matters. So if they were to do it, I'd be for it. But again, just because it's good as a game, it doesn't mean it's going to be good as a live action story. So it would be just like any other series or any other movie to me. I wouldn't be any more excited or any less just because it's based on Red Dead. Because it doesn't matter what it's based on. It's all that matters is, do they execute it well? I mean, look at Witcher. Witcher turned out being fantastic, but it's really only influenced by the original source material. It doesn't follow original source material. It's influenced and inspired by and borrows elements from original source material, but it's really its own show in many ways. So I wouldn't be jumping up and down just because they did it, but I would check it out. I would have no problem with it at the same time, so we'd have to wait and see. All right, last two questions of the day, guys, and then we are all wrapped up. Matt Thornton writes in, "I wasn't aware that the 90s flick A League of Their Own, an extremely underrated movie." Listen, I don't know if it's underrated, because people know that movie's fabulous. There's no crying in baseball. It's so good. A League of Their Own is so freaking good. It's crazy. Was getting a TV adaptation. Yeah, we talked about that. I forgot about it, though. I think they've been talking about doing a League of Their Own television adaptation for years. I totally forgot it was even happening. Was getting a TV adaptation. I'm very intrigued. Thoughts on this and the original film? Again, love the original film. And listen, considering the nature of, this would be a season could be, one baseball season could be a season of the show. Right? So you could do it that way. There's a lot of characters in A League of Their Own. There's a lot of characters in that. A lot of which don't get a lot of attention in the movie itself. So there's potential there. But again, kind of just like Red Dead, it all kind of depends on how well it's executed. But again, the world is there. The characters are there. There's something to be there. So let's see how it all kind of turns out. And final question of the day comes to us from Suthius, who writes, "With the current DCEU, Joker and the Batman, I wonder if Hamada is slowly setting seeds for a more vast DC multiverse. If not, I'm fine with the solos." Yeah, I don't know that he's sowing seeds for multiverse, which is far too nerdy of a thing, and I'm into nerdy, but it's far too nerdy of a thing, I think, for the average movie-going audience. So I think he's really just focusing on solos. I think Walter Hamada's philosophy has been, screw all the other things. Make a good movie. Keep your focus on making a good movie. Because when we seem to put our focus on just making this movie right in front of us the best movie it can be, and we don't worry about all the other stuff, and we just worry about, don't worry about that movie, don't worry about that movie, and don't worry about that movie, worry about this movie. Put all your attention, all your heart, all your pain, all your blood, all your sweat, all your tears, put it all into this movie and don't worry about anything else. They have success. They have success. They have an Aquaman movie that makes $1 billion. They have a Joker movie that gets nominated for Best Picture of the Year, and by the way, makes over $1 billion. They get a Shazam movie that's one of the best movies the DCEU has ever done. And yeah, you get Harley Quinn, whatever. But now we got Wonder Woman 84 coming. And I bet that's going to be great. And I bet Black Adam's going to be great. Hamada's philosophy seems to be, we're talking about one film, screw everything else. Focus on this one film. Make it the best film you can. Make it the best movie you can. And everything else will take care of itself. If you just keep putting out good movie after good movie after good movie after good movie, you win. You win. And if we tie some together in some shared cinematic universe, fine. And if we don't, fine. Just make it so that when the audience comes to one of our movies and they see that one of our movies is coming out, they have a belief that it's going to be great because we've put out 4 or 5 in a row that are great. That seems to be the philosophy of Walter Hamada. And it's a philosophy, by the way, that is working. It's a philosophy that's working. And I personally hope they stick to it. And if that means later on they cross some things over, great. And if they don't, fine. I don't care about the other movie that's coming out in 2 years. I care about the movie that I'm sitting down in my movie theater to watch right now. Give me the best movie you can give me right now. That's the important thing. And that seems to be his philosophy. So we'll know for sure in the years moving forward, Suthius. We'll find out for sure in the years moving forward. But that's kind of where I think his head's at right now. Anyway, guys. Oh, my voice is almost gone. That will do it for today's installment of the John Campea's, I was going to say the John Campea Show, but today is Open Mic of Open Mic. Thank you so much for being here and making this show a part of your Saturday, guys. It's always an honor knowing that we want to get together and talk about movies together and that you guys come and join me. It's awesome. So thank you so much for making this a part of your day. Special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but also because you supported the channel while you were doing it. And by the way, there are two different ways to send in questions. There is Super Chat, but YouTube takes 1/3 of that. So whatever, the best way to send in questions is to use the tip link that's in the top of the description of this video. And by the way, if you want to start sending in questions now, then your questions will be the first ones answered on Monday's John Campea Show. So you can even start sending those questions early. Anyway, guys, that will do it for me. Don't forget, send in if you want one of these shirts. I'll move the mic out of the way again. If you want one of these shirts, just email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com with the word shirt in the subject line and a picture of you with Bring on the Filthy somewhere in your picture as well. And also include your mailing address. And I'm going to pick 5 at random and send you one of these shirts. So we got 5 to give away. And maybe yours will be one of them. Anyway, guys, that will do it for me for today. Thanks so much for being here. My name is John Campea, everybody. Oh, always so good to have you guys here. And until Monday, bye-bye.